Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Day 9 Daily 466 Part 2, where we're trying to create extra special hype for a gentleman named QuanticIllusion hanging out in Group 1 of the Red Bull Battlegrounds. That will be going down this Saturday, and if you can't come out, don't worry because it'll all be streamed live here on this channel. Right here. It'll be streamed here. Where? Here. Should I go anywhere? No, stay here. Now. Let's talk about Illusion. In his group, he has Stephano and Violet, a huge issue, but we're seeing that he has a very interesting answer to General Zerg play with this sort of outrageous, non-stop aggression. His entire structure is geared towards aggression, and again, the core aspect to all strategies is that we shouldn't think about them as compositions, because compositions can change all game long. Buildings are what are the core element to any strategy. So what we've seen from the buildings here from Illusion is that the barracks have been active almost all game long, and this factory only just recently kicking into gear, and as a result it is making Thors. Super interesting choice from Illusion. Going to allow him to continue to press on really nicely. The Thor obviously helps us abate any Mutalist problems, helps us gear up for any sort of transition that we might want to do against Broodlords. And I like this play by Illusion where he is walling off here because he can easily rally somewhere here defending this open entrance, and this is completely safe. And as long as he's pushing and covering this destructible debris, it's going to be amazing. So here, ladies and gentlemen, is a prime example of just out of frickin' control aggression. This is something that is, I would say, it's iffy in a lot of circumstances, but in this case, I like it a lot. He has seen his opponent go Ling Baneling. He knows his opponent had to rebuild a lot of units, and likely wanted to, as quickly as possible, mass up a good amount of drones. We also have a really nice output of units coming in from the main. We have control of the Watchtower. And the big important thing is that he just can't have Hive right now. There's just no way he could have teched to Hive that quickly and done this Baneling bust. Generally, Hives will finish at around 17 minutes. So, this drop is going to be really bad against a lot of Banelings, but we're going to plant a lot of Marines Marauders at the front to be able to absorb a ton of that. And also, we can literally always do this sort of thing. This is a really simple way to force our opponent to always be on the super mega defensive. And even if there are some infestors don't kill drops that fast. If Illusion spreads his stuff out even slightly, it will tie up a ton of time for the Zerg player. So I want to emphasize, it's not really going to be an efficient drop. We're probably, on average, going to lose more than we deal in terms of just raw resources, but it forces the Zerg to always be positioned back there, and it really messes up any Zerg attempt to take a fourth. And this is really how we're thinking in Illusion's position. How do we deny a fourth as long as possible? So here's a really sick late game transition we see out of Illusion. He's built up his 5 barracks, that's his core mixture, and he's been churning out Thors, and his next step is going to be just Blue Flame Hellion and 3 more factories. That huge delay that he did, not making all those tanks, not making all those Thors this whole time, well, now he's going to just go heavy into factory and catch up everything that he missed. So what are we up against? Pretty much a large Baneling Infestor mixture. We're slowly spreading out and starting to waltz our way forward. We're trying to kill off as much creep spread as possible, which Sheth is actually doing a remarkably aggressive job putting back in. But with our super hyper mobile army and our really smart positioning, we can easily deal with these sorts of counterattacks. We don't have a lot of tanks. We're not really pinned to any one location with this mixture. This sort of thing can be annoying and painful and problematic, but as long as we maintain a hold of the center, we're in good shape. Good little spots all around. The Thors never really have to move, and as a result, we can pick off all the infestors and leave our stuff at the front. The Thors act as kind of crappy tanks for picking off those infestors.
Mineral field depleted.
And here is probably my favorite part of the entire game. If we have our opponent really pinned back, and he's making a lot of Zerglings, this will generally happen if your opponent is low on bases. He'll have to make a lot of Zerglings. We just see the double Blue Flame Hellion production. This, I think, is super slick. It's in line with our, oh my god, we want to be as aggressive as possible. But more importantly, if our opponent has 3 bases, how do I put that? On average, you're going to want around 75 workers. That's a good stopping point. Somewhere between 65 and 80 workers, generally around 72 to 75 is where we see players quit. If you have 3 bases, 75 workers very nicely fills up all 3 geysers and has about 16 workers on all your minerals. And you might say, well, why on earth would you take bases 4, 5, and 6 if you can pretty much saturate on 3 bases? The answer is just that you want more gas to get gas-heavier units. So this is where we'll see Stephano taking 4 or 5 bases, kind of going ultra-infester with some lings. Because if he has the gas, he wants to be investing in those gas-heavy units. So if your opponent is ever kind of low on bases, without Sheth even thinking anything, Sheth is just going to look at his money and say, I'm low on gas, but I have a lot of minerals, and I'm trying to break out. Let me make minerals. Because Illusion has limited Zerg to 3 bases this whole time, he now knows that it's a really good play to go for this Blue Flame Hellion stuff. Really like this. Really slick. And this is actually true across any matchup. If you limit your opponent down to just 3 bases, and really cut into his ability to take a 4th. In a lot of circumstances, you'll see a predominance of mineral-based units in those mixtures. He's still going to have like a lot of gas, because 3 bases is a lot of gas, but so don't go nuts and go like 7 factory Blue Flame Hellion. Still, Illusion non-stop able to take control of the middle of the map, and the last thing that he is doing is getting these tanks. As a total badass add-on, we got 3-3 really fast, and then went for the structure armor and the high-sec auto-tracking. That's so badass. That's so ridiculously freaking badass. And now with our super mobile force, we can easily roast a lot of Blue Flame Hellions. These counterattacks that are sort of trademark Chef are not really going to be able to do that much damage. And now we have another base up. Illusion kind of never stops building command centers. Anytime one finishes, he just plops down another. And all he's got to do is lock down this 3rd and 4th. And sure, he's waltzing forward. Excuse me, all he has to do is lock down the 4th. And as he's darting forward and doing these nice little plays, and it's really cool to see, he's still not doing any sort of huge attacks. Some exchanges are fine. He's just trying to control the creep spread as much as possible. And now slowly inching forward with tanks. And just has a ridiculous force of doom. And we're just going to kind of see some pretty nice cleanup from Illusion throughout, just with his ridiculously strong macro. Sheth macroing really well himself, but when your opponent has just kind of a really, really ideal position where I just took my 4th base as Terran and I've limited you to under 4, then hip hip hooray, I'm in good shape. I would say the one thing that I might be a little bit like, oh, come on, Illusion, is the low barracks count. Stayed at 5. That's great for 2 bases going on to 3, but when you're going on 4 bases, there's no reason you can't take a couple of those extra. So despite being up against the classic Ling, Baneling, Infestor Ultra, the sort of modern unit mix, the fact that we've gotten these 3-3 upgrades so fast meant that our opponent was kind of on the defensive. And as we just literally start rally-hoing, we slowly start to gain ground. Never really able to take a 4th. Still ends up being somewhat close, because Sheth is no slouch, Sheth is no pushover, but Sheth is always really well-mannered. Really cool play that we got to see from Illusion, where it was literally start out with these Hellions, kind of play pretty damn defensively. We're getting 1-1. Sure, we move out with the medevacs, but we're always kind of intending to retreat. And then when we get 2-2, we go to the middle, we stay in the middle, we're shoving, we're taking the third expansion, we're continuing to shove, we're getting Thors to stay mobile, we're getting Blue Flame Hellions to stay mobile. We eventually get tanks, but we only make like 4 or 5 tanks all game long, and then we just continue to shove and shove and shove and shove, and just box the opponent in. Really like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at another game from Illusion, where we're going to see 2 of the similar themes pop back up. One, really, really weird build order. And for much of the conclusion of Part 2, like from now until we end Part 2, we'll see how we'll focus mostly on the build. And then in Part 3, we'll wrap up by examining, holy cow, he's just really, 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 really aggressive. And the big things to note are that all these timing pushes, no matter what timing push you're doing, no matter what unit mix you're building, it all revolves around some really key moments, in particular the 10 and 12 minute marks for Zerg. So, bam! This is a game between Illusion and Dignitas Killer. I took the liberty of stripping all text out of the game because they basically had a very long exchange, and of course friendship is total bullshit when it's a distracting friendship. It's just writing all these things. Hey dude, how's your training going? Oh, it's really good. Are you excited for the Latin American World Championship? Deleted it all. So that way we can just watch how awesome the 2 players are. QuanticIllusion, again, going to be the focus of the daily for today. But Dignitas' Killer, like one of the best players in Latin America, and actually he's just super, 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 super good anyways. Doesn't really get enough kudos, but Killer's awesome. Did very well in the Latin American Battle.net Invitational in 2011, etc., 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 etc. So, alright. In usual Terran form, we just hotkey everything into the command center. Because, let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. It's really fun to hold control and do this. Just drag those fingers all the way across. If you have a mechanical keyboard, oh, it's so good. Let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. So Killer going to be doing the usual early expand. Let's go ahead and come to the Illusion cam. Illusion said something that just in the Skype conversation I was having with him before the daily. When you open with Barracks Gas, there are a ton of different attacks that you can do, but it's important that all the attacks that you do happen at the same time. This is what will make it difficult for your opponent to get a read on you. So let me do an example. Let's say you have attack A comes at 5 minutes, attack B comes at 7 minutes, and attack C comes at 9 minutes. They're 2 minutes apart. This is a really easy style to play against. And this is actually true for a lot of builds. Let me actually make it more concrete. Okay, so let's do A, B, and C. Attack A comes first, B comes second, and C comes third. So let's list those out. There's some early Marine pressure that you can do as Terran, or you can go for Reactor Hellion, or you can go for a Cloaked Banshee. These are going to be our A, B, and C builds. So normally the way, without even scouting the Terran, I can be sitting at around 4 minutes and 30 seconds and say, hey, I haven't seen any Marines yet. I guess he's not going for a Marine attack. He must be teching to either Hellions and Banshees, or he's going for an expand. So let's say we're around 6:15 and we still haven't seen any Hellions. We can now conclude, oh, he's not going Marines, he's not going Hellions, he must be going for Banshees. It's something I call a non-trigger, or Last Shadow calls a timestamp. If the time that the thing is supposed to happen has elapsed, and you've given it a little bit of wiggle room, and it still hasn't happened, then he's not doing that. By seeing nothing, you have gained huge amounts of information. So what Illusion is talking about is that a lot of his timing pushes all happen between 9:30 and 10. They all happen at this really key time. So if I'm a Zerg player and I see this, I don't know whether to expect a Hellion heavy composition. I don't know whether to expect a Marine heavy composition coming to attack me if they're all coming at the same spot, and if I have denied scouting.
Upgrade complete.
Illusion is going to go ahead and scout this. The only time he'd do a big deviation is if you saw that there was no hatch here. Like, oh my god, if you see the hatch and there's, like, nothing going on, like, that is... that's... Or if you go here and you see absolutely no hatch, that's generally like a kind of... And generally around 4:30 is when the creep spread is through the minerals. So, for instance, if you got here at 4:30 and the hatch had just finished, and you see a little bit of creep, you know that he went pool first. But, you know, if you went hatch first, 4:30 is about when the creep spread hits through the minerals. So we're going to see Illusion. Once again, go for Factory. And once again, go for Reactor. Let me just back up so I can show you the exact timing. He will be going for the Reactor and Factory. But we see the Factory, come on. Factory gets planted down a little bit later. We're getting our expansion up a little bit earlier. And we're favoring Reactor on the barracks. So again, if you're Killer, it's hard to know if there's going to be Hellions coming or this other type of thing coming. And this is one of the weirdest openings I have ever seen ever, but it's really slick. So here we see the Factory coming down, we see the Reactor on the barracks, no swap going to go down, but then 2 subsequent barracks placed down, no second geyser. We're just building up to 4 Marines before we actually do any of that other shenaniganry. So, Illusion gets supply blocked for a little bit, but is going to use this command center as his next supply depot. And we are making Hellions, but we're just making it out of a regular, standard old factory. Around 6 minutes, we start our engineering bay, and we're going to be getting our double add-ons in this order. Engineering bay, whoosh add-on, and another whoosh add-on. Come on. There it is. So kind of in this order, engineering bay, add-on, add-on. We're still churning out Marines, still churning out Hellions. And here we have our Hellion out to scout a little bit. And we do end up seeing that there is this hatch going down at the 3rd base. Now, I will say that at this point in time, we have to stop and just think about the basic possibilities for Zerg. If he's going 1 base, if he's going 2 base, 10 minutes is around when all that stuff finishes up for the layer. So it's around when he'll be able to get Spire at the earliest. It's around when he'll be able to start getting Infestors at the earliest. So in other words, 10 minutes is right when he's ready to do his layer tech stuff, but has not quite been able to do it. Likewise, if he goes for 3 base, that's the 12 minutes, 12 to 13 is right when he's going to be able to start powering up and doing that layer tech, but before he's really been able to make use of it. So 10 minutes on 2 base is a vulnerable time. 12 minutes on 3 base, also a vulnerable time. And of course, 10 minutes will be another vulnerable time for a 3 basing player, just for the same general reasons. He doesn't have any sort of layer tech.
Add-on complete.
So, in order, Stim +1 gets started at the same time, and then last but not least, we end up adding on a combat shield upgrade. When we get that extra 100 gas, cool. I want to note how unbelievably funky this timing is. We have 1 geyser, and we have gone +1 Stim combat shield. We're getting Hellions 1 at a time. Isn't this nuts? Sure, we're doing some map control techniques. Our map control is going to be a lot stronger if he's going for a 3 base, just because he just can't have a lot of speedlings. And when everything is about halfway done, your Stim, combat shield, that's when you start to move out with all your Mariners. And you can do all these kinds of paths quite nicely. Why are we doing this path? Because hell, what if he has this watchtower up? We have a lot of freedom to move around with these Marines, thanks largely to our unbelievably awesome Hellions. And also, we can pick off Overlords like a total Raffalicious badass. But around when they're halfway done, that's when we're going to feel a little bit more comfort in terms of moving out. If he was 2 basing, no reason to really move out. We can just patiently wait. So as we move out around 9:30, wow, look at that! All these timings collapse together at around the 9:30 to 10 minute mark. Right when we're moving out, we very simply explode into action with everything we didn't do before. Starport with reactor, boom, just throw that down. Third command center, boom, throw that down. All the geysers we didn't get before, boom, throw those down. Guys, I like saying boom. Boom, throw that down.
Upgrade.
So we have, I want to note, we have wound up with 6 Hellions. In the other builds, we got 6 Hellions really fast. Like in the last game, we got 6 Hellions quickly. And then we went for the Marines and the upgrades and the tech and all that good jazz. In this game, we're slowly adding on 6. And then right when we get ready to do the attack, ta-da! 6 Hellions. And a ton of Marines with +1 and stim and combat shield. Super cool timing. So despite the fact that our opponent has a good amount of roaches, if he is on, or actually no matter what, he really can't have speedlings. So, or excuse me, speed banes or speed roaches. So we'll have to micro well against speed banes. That's a little bit hard to do, but no big deal if you're Illusion. Against roaches, also no big deal. Even though Marauders are a little bit better, stim, combat shield, Marines with a little bit of Hellion support is going to rip through a lot of stuff. This attack will generally die. This attack forces your Zerg player to have already had a lot of stuff and to continue to make a lot of stuff. I actually want to come back to 10 minutes and just point out how ridiculously much Killer already had. 15 roaches, 17 Zerglings, a queen already here. In production, 3 more roaches. Killer's really going pretty damn nuts with that early production. I mean, geez, he's at 17 roaches when this attack begins. In this pack is 28 Marine, or 26 Marines. I know it says 32, but there's a bunch left over here. 26 Marines. It's just not that many Marines, but they have +1. And even with all that, Killer loses all of this initial set of roaches. Is building 15 more roaches. Don't let this food differential deceive you. This is largely roach. I mean, the worker supply almost favors Illusion at this point in time. Really, really sick play. Really sick timing push. Will probably become pretty popular later on down the road. And if it does, I'll totally take credit for it. So cool, we picked off as many drones as we could. We got him down to underneath us. And meanwhile, back home, we have set up a nice infrastructure. Again, we just slammed out everything we didn't have before. Command center, starport, refinery, 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 +1 armor. Then what did we do while that battle was going on? Well, we just went barracks, barracks, engineering bay, armory. Cool. When we come back to part 2, we're going to see Illusion follow this up with relentless, ridiculous, stupid amounts of aggression that's really, really smartly timed, especially with how he takes expansions. Be back in a sec. Boom! Boom! Boobs. He's a 25-year-old man, and Juvenile is a 12-year-old. Here we go. Part 3. Part 3, yes, part 3. Are we doing this in part 3? Yes.